Joining us now, Representative Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Democrat of Florida, member of the Appropriations Committee and Vice Chair of the Democratic National Committee, and Congressman Aaron Schock, Republican of Illinois. He is the Deputy Republican Whip. I think he's the youngest member of Congress. And we had dinner together, placed at the record straight, when I got my honorary degree at Bradley University, where he graduated. The president talked tonight about America's frustrations with both of your parties. Listen to what he said, and then I want your comment.
What frustrates the American people is Washington, where every day is election day. We can't wage a perpetual campaign where the only goal is to see who can get the most embarrassing headlines about the other side. A belief that if you lose, I win. Neither party should delay or obstruct every single bill just because they can.
Congresswoman Schultz, did he have a point?
I think he absolutely has a point, Larry. I mean, I don't know how many ways into a pretzel the president needs to twist himself to get the Republicans to come to the table and sit down and try to work out some common some compromise on any issue. I mean, for us to expect in the Senate that everything we do has to pass a test of 60 votes is not what the founding fathers envisioned. Majority rules, and the president has sent that message over and over, and it just, to me, continuously seems like the Republicans are just not rooting for Americans to succeed, and it's really unfortunate.
Congressman Schock, how do you respond?
Well, Larry, look, Republicans stand ready with an open hand to work with the president on all of his priorities, specifically health care. We wrote to the president last April laying out a series of reforms. You heard Senator McCain earlier in your program highlight many of those reforms. Those are Republican ideas. Now, if the president is willing to work with us and incorporate some of those ideas, he's going to get bipartisan support. You're going to see many of the moderate Republicans go along with him, but he is going to have to upset some of his liberal base to do that. And up until this point, the administration and the Speaker of the House have been very happy to just go along with their party's own members on issues like health care, a very partisan cap-and-trade bill, a very partisan stimulus bill. The message we heard tonight about working across the aisle does not mirror what has happened this year. And I think what the voters have been trying to tell us in New Jersey and Virginia and certainly in Massachusetts is it's not about Republican or Democrat. It's about the power of a good idea. And they didn't like the ideas that the majority were selling this year.
Congresswoman Schultz, he says the Republicans are doing their best to cooperate.
Well, if you think that not a single Republican voting for the stimulus package, only one Republican voting for the health care reform legislation, and no Republicans voting for the health care reform legislation, one Republican voting for the energy legislation, if you think that's bipartisan cooperation, then I'm looking at a different dictionary. But at the end of the day, we need to make sure that we can move this country in a new direction, which is what the American people wanted when they elected Barack Obama president. And I thought the president did an incredible job tonight speaking to the folks in my district and districts across the country that are struggling. I mean, my state has 11.8% unemployment. The key to job creation is right through small businesses. President Obama's proposal to put $30 billion into community banks to lend to small businesses, that's going to go a long way towards jump-starting this economy, and a number of other proposals that he talked about to revitalize small business.
Congressman Schock, is he going to get out of your House and the Senate a health bill?
If he reaches across the aisle and gives us a seat at the table. With all due respect about all the rhetoric, the fact of the matter is it hasn't happened. You heard from John McCain. The Senate Republican leadership were kept out of the negotiations. I can tell you from the House side, the House Republican leadership were kept out of the negotiation. That's why you had minimal Republican support. The same thing with the stimulus bill, the same thing with the cap-and-trade bill. Tonight, it was a great speech. He does a great job at delivering speech. As was mentioned earlier in the program, much of the themes were ballot tested. We heard President Obama talk about cutting taxes, cutting the deficit, promoting free trade agreements, the need for nuclear and offshore drilling. But Larry, that's like Rod Blagojevich talking about ethics reform. It doesn't meet the history of work. And so if the president's serious about cutting taxes, cutting the deficit, and the need for free trade agreements, I and many of my Republican colleagues, I can assure you, stand ready as a willing partner.
You know, we'll take that
Debbie,
challenge. Go ahead, Larry, I'm sorry.
Debbie, you think he'll get a bump tonight?
I think he will, and you know, it's just incredibly frustrating that my colleague and friend Aaron Schock it looks at the president's speech tonight as cynical box checking. I mean, I don't know which kind of constituents he represents, but the ones I represent are hurting. They want to make sure that they have an opportunity for job creation. They want to make sure that when you have a pre-existing condition, that an insurance company can't drop you or deny you coverage.
Aaron, will he get a job? Will he get a jobs bill, Aaron?
Let me say first, I'm not being cynical. I'm just being somewhat critical because the rhetoric hasn't matched up with his behavior this past year. And all I'm suggesting is if he's serious about the platform that he laid out here tonight, he's going to get it. On the jobs bill, look, we had nearly $1 trillion jobs bill that passed last year that was supposed to put Americans back to work, keep unemployment less than 8%, and we're at double digits, over 10%. Much of that money was supposed to go to infrastructure. That was the bill of goods that was sold on the stimulus bill. Less than 12% of it went to infrastructure.
We'll have both of you back shortly. Thank you both very much.
Thanks,
Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz of Florida and Congressman Aaron Schock of Illinois.